Hello everyone, VegasVic1965, and in this week's tutorial we are going to be looking at a river biome trident farm that is a 1.15.2 Java version of a river biome trident farm. Now this design initially came to me and I started building when Il Mango made one and he used turtle eggs. In this one, however, we're not using turtle eggs, and the reason being, during the daytime these guys will not pathfind anywhere. So I have made one where they will continue to flow right down to the kill chamber you see behind me. And I'm also using this for to repair my tools. So if you take a look here, I'm going to be mentioning this a little bit later in the video. You'll see I'll come up here and smack them with my smite sword, then I'll come over here and set it. I have nothing in here. The only thing I have in mending is going to be in my action bar. Come right up and start repairing my pickaxe, since I have that one selected on my hotbar. I love it. It makes it so much easier to repair. And I'll do the same thing. Whack them, get away a little bit, come back, set it back on the action bar again. It's awesome. So how do we build this? Without further ado, let's find out. Okay, so you found a spot that you want to build your river biome trident farm. The next thing you really need to do is mark it off, and you want to mark it off correctly. So you're going to want to open up your F3 screen, your coordinate screen. For you bedrockers, I know that there's an ability for you guys to go into your settings and have the coordinates shown in the top left of your screen. But now we're going to take a look and see how far this river biome actually goes, because the biome itself is not always exactly where the water is. Sometimes it's further back, sometimes it's further in. There may be water there, but that doesn't mean that a drowned is going to spawn. Because if it's the biome itself says, for example, if you look down here on my screen, about a little lower than midway on the readout, you'll see it says Biome Minecraft Desert. Now, if we go over some, see, this says river, but below me is grass. Drowns will spawn in the river biome area. Even if that shows grass, you can make it a water source block, and they will spawn in that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at where we need to start marking stuff off. Now, I'm going to guess probably around, just to give myself a decent platform up top. And of course, I want to mention that we're going to probably build this, our initial platform, at 195. That'll give us the 128 space. Also take in consideration for any other hills that are around. And one other thing you want to do once you've got it built is come back down here and light these areas up, just in case you happen to be below that spawn area, like on some of these hills here. Unless you want to spend the time flattening all this out, it's much easier to throw some torches down to keep the spawns from happening, because you want to make sure that you are 128 blocks away from any other possible hostile mob spawns. That will make your river biome trident farm far more efficient. So by picking any spot along here that you know of, let's see, river, see, we're in sand and grass down here, back up a little bit, we're at desert, looking at my coordinates, 126 on the X level. So I'm probably going to build this, let's say we'll build this at 120 just to be sure, and also give us room. So we'll go to the 120, and then we want to pick our spot to the left and to the right. So now that we've picked out our spots and written down our coordinates, we need to get ourselves up to the height level of 195. Okay, we are at 195. That's where the block placement is. And I wanted to point out that the bare minimum you want is going to be at 192. 192 is exactly 128 blocks above sea level. But again, I want to take in consideration of some of these hills. You're going to always have landscape that's going to be somewhat higher than the water level itself or sea level itself. And you want to make sure that you want to limit the number of possible hostile mob spawns. So by lighting it down below, like I had mentioned, but also you can have a little bit of playroom with the levels here. So you can see I'm standing, if you look at my X coordinate or my Y coordinates in the middle, it says 196, the block level again 195. From here, We've built ourselves a platform, of course, giving yourself plenty of room. Be careful up there. And the next thing we want to do is we want to look down. We're standing here, and you can see that on my coordinates again, down just below midway, you'll see it says Minecraft Desert. If we go forward one space, oh, here we are. Should say, maybe I'm on the wrong side. There it is, river. So let me turn myself around, get myself coordinated right. This block is, of course, river. Below that, behind that is desert. And what we want to do now is map this out. So a quick example, we'll go over to the left and see that says desert above desert. So we can put a block there because this is river. River, desert, river. Here's desert, and so on. So you'll block these out, you'll find your river, you'll go to the left or right or forward, and you'll find the next one, keeping in mind that only the river biome is going to spawn your drowns for you. That says river, this says river, river. Ooh, there's desert. Where are we here? Almost at the edge here. So I'll probably have to add some more glass blocks here unless I'm on the edge of where I want to build it. Now, something else you want to keep in mind is that when you're building this, you can only build it so big, truthfully, and you're going to see, you've probably seen part of mine already, because once you get beyond 128 blocks, they're not going to spawn. So you could build a massive one, but it's not going to do anything for you. So what I've done is built mine somewhere in between that 128 width possibly, but then in the middle somewhere, I'm about 64 blocks from either end. And also keep in mind that anything beyond 32 blocks is going to have a chance every 40 seconds to disappear on you. But having a large one will at least ensure that you are going to get some of those spawns that will get close enough to you so they won't despawn and end up in your grinder. So let me map this out and I'll be right back. Okay, at this point you have seen now that I have outlined the actual river biome itself, and as I said earlier, underneath down on the land portion of it, you'll see, you saw earlier that some of it was grass and sand, and there was more than likely some on here that had water, but was not listed as a river biome. I mainly changed out the color so you could see this a lot easier, and from this point, it'd be really difficult to go ahead and build your farm like this. So what I have done on all the river biome Trident farms that I built, I went ahead and straightened out a lot of these jagged edges to make it a lot easier for you to build your towers. So let me go ahead and make the adjustments to that, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back, and I'm just kind of straightening things up right now. And you will see in a moment the difference and how much easier it will be once it's all done and you've kind of straightened out the edges. Now, taking a look at this, you can see the blue areas are the river biome, and you can see areas where I've kind of straightened it out to make this a lot easier to build. So those will be water areas, of course, inside the Trident farm, but they will not have any spawns. But to make it easier to build, it's easier to have these straighter lines to build all the way up. So that is the build the way I do it. I take this jagged edges, make them a lot straighter so it's a lot easier for me to build. And you make sure that you include all of those areas for the river biome Trident farm. So let's take a look next at what we have next. Okay, for the next step, we are on the AP Java server looking at my drowned farm, which I believe I'll have some clips currently in the process of making. But what we're going to look at right now is, let's go over here to see our drop area. Now, I set my kill zone when I built this and set up the pattern on the ground here. I set the kill zone in the center. So everything from left and right of it would drop in there and eventually hit this water, the soul sand. Mine is 3 wide. I want to make sure that I don't hit the cap, and it's just a couple blocks off the ground. Now that runs the full length from the very end all the way to the very end of where I stopped the other build, almost where I stopped the other build, because I have a couple of corners that peek out from here. And that's my son Josh in the back. He's a future Minecraft player. Inside the kill chamber, I've set it up with, I've arranged obsidian blocks, and the reason for that is I like to repair my tools here. So what I will do is I'll just take off my gear when we're not when I need to repair it, fire away at these guys. Now you notice he died just one hit. Well, that's because the drop I have here is 21 blocks. So if you do happen to build one with a drop like I have, make sure they're dropping at least 21 blocks. 24 blocks and they'll be dead, so you're not going to have much chance with a looting sword if that's the case. Let me pop these back on real quick. And so that's where my drop chamber is, right in the middle. And what I've done is I've gone out from there. And what I do is I go up one block each time when I'm at the walls. So at the furthest wall, I counted back in to figure out how many blocks wide, because we're going to run this. It's kind of confusing. I'll try to explain a little bit better. We're running 8 from here. So this is what they'll drop off into this funnel right here. And before I go any further, if you've seen other Trident farms, you've noticed that they used turtle eggs. Well, important fact, although those work really well, during the daytime, you're drowned. If they're sitting in water, they'll just do nothing. They'll just stand there during the daytime. So I changed one of my drowned farms, and then after that I realized I should have done it the whole time to begin with. So what I've done is created water streams, and if you watch any of my videos on a lot of my tutorials for stuff like this, I love the water streams. It helps move everything quickly to where you want it to go. So anyway, I count off here. So I went 8 this way. Your last one that goes into the drop off is 8. Prior to that, you work your way out 7, and then 7 more until you reach the end, and going up 1 block each time. That way, when you drop your water off at the edges like here, it'll flow all the way down to your drop off. And then you can see the tiers here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in total. I've actually made this pretty big, and I haven't hit the build limit of 128 before they disappear, but I do get every now and then one will despawn. But there are so many that actually come through here. Now, down below is another story. You don't have to build all that, but there are plenty of tutorials out there for a sorting system. And you can do it whatever way you want. You can set up just 2 chests over here if you want, or even just 1 if you happen to be working at the moment. But anyway, that's the next step, is we're going to point off or show you what we've got with the one that we're building on our little mini test server. So I will be right back. Okay, we are back, and the next step really is going to be to decide where your water drop is going to be. Now, for all intents and purposes, the best way is take a look at your design, and you don't want to build on the end where the water is, where it's meeting down here, because you're more than likely going to be within that 24 block spawn spot, and nothing will spawn in those areas. So you want it down over here where it kind of opens up. And as a river, if you've built one that's straight across, and if you found a river that's straight across, great. Most of the ones I've run into are like this, where they have like a little bit of a horseshoe shape. Anyway, you want to find your center of this. And it's easily found by going from one end of your build, which you can see here. If I bring up my coordinates again, we are at minus 321 on the Z coordinates. Yep, it is the Z coordinates. And you want to go all the way to the other end of where your build is. And we came to 381, which is 60 blocks. So we need somewhere 30 blocks in here. So let's take it to 351. So at 351, that should be your center, which would be right here. So at 351, that's where your drop is going to be. Now, if you're going to build like I do, instead of a single drop, you want to have it 3 so you can build up quite a bit. Then your center one will, of course, be the 351 or 352, somewhere right around there, just close enough. And then you start building. Build this a couple blocks off the ground, of course, because eventually these guys, as you get further away, it's going to get higher and higher. So they will drop down into a waterfall here. Now I've set up the soul sand in the back, and I've put just packed ice in the front. If you've got enough ice and you want to go with blue ice, great. It just helps that when the water does flow, and they bump into each other, it pushes them a little further. So let me build a little bit more now that we know where to build our drop. As you can see, we've lined up the very last drop right here over the ice. And right here is where our signs are going to be. We're going to have our signs right over that ice where they drop down into it and get pushed onto the water elevator. So I will be right back as we do a little bit more. Okay, we are back, and what I have done is I built this bottom chute right here. You have the soul sand, the ice, and we're going to post in some signs here in just a moment. 3 signs will go there. But I marked these off with iron blocks so you can see the difference. Now, having this run, I think, what is it, five blocks, it'll give a stronger current to push these guys through. So I would suggest doing probably 5. I would not suggest 6 or 7, only because it'll end up being weak. You'll get it kind of bogged down over here. But the ice does help most of them get through, especially when they bump into each other. So you do the first one at 5, go up 1 level, and then you'll go back 7. So you'll see here, counting the iron block, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. And you'll continue to do that, 7 up, 1 up, 7 back, 1 up, 7 back, until you get to the end of your build. Now the last one here, I've kind of marked it off with this spot right here, because this will be the end of it. And what I'll do is I'll drop 3 water sources here. Because you're dropping a water source on a spot that is less than 5 blocks or less, it will only create 1 water source. I know that if you're familiar with how to create infinite water, you cannot do that when it's less than 5 spots like this here for a water stream. So you will need 3 water source blocks, and I'll grab us some water and show you exactly what I mean. So we will put 3 water sources here and watch them cascade down. This will push each and every one of these drowned mobs on down to our funnel system. That way there's no need to keep dropping. And as it hits this last one, now I have not put the signs up here yet, but when I do, I guess we could do that now. We'll come down here and drop our signs. Just like this. Should be able to get another one in there. We'll drop our last one here, right on top of that, and right on top of that. That'll stop the water here, but it should give enough momentum that any of them that are bumping into each other will run right into the ice blocks, and that should push them far enough along. And then I have some backwards stairs upside down that will actually help them get into the water chutes. Next up, we're going to be adding in the water here, and then when you're adding in this water for these 3, you want to ensure that you put a water source on each and every spot. That's how soil sand water elevators work. You have to have a water source on each and every block as you go up. So we will do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. We've added our water sources all the way in every single block, all the way up on all 3 levels. Now as we go into this and the drowns do get pushed in here, you will see that we're going to get pushed all the way up to the top, and out we pop. Just make sure you leave enough clearance here when they do pop out that they will go forward. Your next step after that is to place some signs in here like we did below, but you do not need multiple signs. Just 3 signs in front to keep the water from flowing, and I'll show you exactly what I mean when we place the water in here. 1, 2, 3. The water will now flow straight down into your drop chamber, and again you want to count this off. So when you're measuring this, the easiest way probably would be to take a look and see where the hoppers are at, and look. Now if you notice, I've set iron trapdoors on here, and the reason I did that is because regular trapdoors, people have the tendency to accidentally clipping those. And when that happens, if it opens up and there's a baby drowned in there, he's going to get out. He's going to be angry. He's going to come after you. So if you can afford it, and I hope you can, put down iron trapdoors so you don't accidentally open those. That's a perfect way to keep those babies from hitting you. Now I put these 3 fence posts in front, and the reason I did that is because I make this part of a mending video that I have upcoming, an updated mending video. But you're able to hack away with these guys, back away a little bit if you want, and then move it over to the tool that you want to repair, step right on up, and all the experience will go right to that tool, provided you took all your armor off. Anyway, take a look at that hopper, or the iron block location. We'll take a look at that, and you can see my metal coordinates. It says 197. We want to go up 21 blocks. So let's go up 21 blocks. 97, where are we at? If I did my math right, I think it's 22. So they drop, they hit that. It's 21, 22 blocks. That's just perfect. It should leave them with about a heart or a half a heart left, so you can go in and smack them with your hand and kill them. Anyway, I'll be right back with the next step. Okay, and we are back. Now what we're looking at is the waterways that we set up. Now there's something important I should have mentioned a little earlier. It's not to do with any change here. It's just that I mentioned to you earlier that I had built this a couple blocks up in the air, and that was mainly just so you could see what was going on underneath here. If you build this, you can build your water ramp or the water elevator right down here on top of block 195, starting at 196. So that will actually drop the farm down, which you see here. I only, like I said, moved it up so you could see. So you can actually start your soul sand. I'll show you in just a second. You would start that soul sand right here. 1, 2, and 3, and then build up to your 21, run your water, and then down to your kill zone. So that was just for illustration purposes, so you could see what was going on underneath here, and that will give you an additional couple blocks of height for spawning. So I went ahead and filled all these in. Now the first one we're looking at, that's going to be on both the last drop is going to be 8 blocks wide. So when I started from here, I needed to come up and find out where I was going to be at the very end of this one. So you build out this way for this water stream like you saw a few minutes ago. And then from that top one, that's where you're going to build all the way across, all the way to the end down here. And you'll go back 8 blocks. So let's count it out to make sure I got it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Because that's going to be your final drop into your kill area. The rest of these blocks are going to be either 7 or perhaps even less. You do not have to build this all the way out, as I will show you. As you can see here, we've pretty much covered everything we needed to cover for the river biome in this area here. I just extended it, although I didn't have to. I could have ended it somewhere over in here. So you do have a little flexibility. They're not all the same. They are going to be different. No 2 rivers that I've ever seen are exactly the same. And if you're super lucky to find that one that's one great big giant circle, well, that's awesome. But anyway, if you'll take a look here, you'll see that from here, there was no reason to continue out that level like this one here further back, because there is no river biome in that area. So at this point, I just pretty much stopped it and left a 2 block lip, and then I picked up again where it was going to be. Now I used a marker block, which you can see over there. I have a couple other marker blocks just to make sure that I'm staying on track. So as I hit my marker block, I knew on the inside that's a water biome block, and I need to make sure that there's water flow through there. So from there, I come back 7 blocks. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I go up 1 again. I believe I went back 7 on this one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and I stopped. And that actually encompassed and covered the rest of it on this side. I know my big one that I did, I was not so lucky, and there's a few where I actually had to bring them down this way, and they float onto here and then down into there. So it really is going to depend on how big you make yours. And like I said, they're not all going to be the same. And to give you an example, we started out with 8 on this side, which pretty much covers all of the river biome area here. But as you go back, we're going to start to lose some of that river biome. So I continued on here just to make it easy. So that first one we have is 8, and then this should be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I went too high on a wall. And then as you see over here, the river biome actually goes back 1 block. And that's okay. We went up 1 block and back, so we still have our 7 there. And this 1 block is where I'll set a water source here. And that water source will continue to flow all the way down to the end. Now coming over here, you can see there was no reason to extend it further back because our river biome stops here. And here, it picks up again. And rather than try and make this kind of like a puzzle, I figured I'd do it as easy as possible and cover as much area as possible. So from here, it picks up again, and we go back 7 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then we go up, and then the final one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there are only 6 here, and that's no problem at all. You're probably going to run into that too when you get to the end. You may even only have 3. Just remember, anything shorter than 6 blocks, that's 5 or less, you're going to need a water source on each and every one of those blocks. Since this is 6, I can set up water sources, and you'll see that it's going to completely flow down to the end. So I can put one here, then I can put one, I can skip a block. It's not going to be the case when we get to that single layer in just a moment. That's going to be for anything that is 5 or less. You'll see that will run all the way down. So you don't have to put water sources on each and every one. Plus, it gives the drowns the momentum to keep going, because do you notice when we get down here, every now and then there'll be a drowned that will actually turn around, face that way, and they will be kind of stuck here for a moment or two, and then they'll drop in. By only running at 7, it makes it easier on you. You only need water sources in the back, and also propels them a little bit faster, and they go right over those. Now when it comes to this one here, back to again where you have a water, you're going to need a water source in every block if it's 5 or less, and in this case it's only 1. So we need to put a water source on every one. See, if we put one here, that's not going to work. So every single one of these is going to need to be a water source. Again, your river biome might be a little bit different. If you choose to run it back all the way, it's up to you. You don't have to. I try to make some cuts every now and then where I can. And then we come down here, we'll start placing, again, we have 7, so we can place one every other one. One there, skip a block there, skip a block here, skip a block, and so on. And the last one, and it should flow all the way to the end. There it goes. Same thing for the other side. Be right back. Okay, we have all of our water sources in now. Everything is running right down into our final water pathways into our kill chamber. Now I want to mention the inspiration came from Il Mango's design quite a while ago, and where he used turtle eggs, and the drowned would actually pathfind to those turtle eggs and end up in his water streams from up to 47 blocks away. However, during the daytime, drowned will just sit there and do nothing. And so what I have done is changed, I started building these with the water streams, so I didn't even have to worry about the turtle eggs or the time of day. They'll always flow down into this final chamber. One more thing I wanted to mention over here. If you take a look, now I've gone a couple blocks past, and the reason for that being is I want to make sure that they don't accidentally bump each other up onto the shelf, burn, and I lose the potential drop. So you'll notice on each and every one of these, I do go past a couple blocks. You'll see there's the level up, and I go past 2. On each and every one of those, I do that to make sure that none of them are going to be escaping out of there and landing on the very top of this to burn up and lose any potential Trident drops. So the next step is going to be to build our walls. And when we do build our walls, again, I would not normally put the water in here until I've got everything, and including the walls, done. And you'll see a little bit of a quick speed tutorial build that you'll see, or a time lapse that you'll actually see of me doing this. It should be relatively short. I'll do some cutting, but you'll get a chance to see me build these walls. And again, I use the walls because I want to keep the light levels 7 or below inside that water area where they're going to be spawning. I don't want to have just a cascading set of water down here because I may find that with sunlight, those light levels won't be low enough to spawn in those areas. It does take a lot of stone or whatever building material you're going to use, but trust me when I say it's worth it. You'll see it in the time lapse. So for the time lapse, let's go take a look. Okay, here we are. We're working on the walls. This is quite a task to take. But as anybody knows that has tried to get a trident out in the sea or even in the river biome on the Java side, it is extremely difficult. You'll see I put some numbers here later on. I might as well tell you now, and you'll see them then. It's a 6.25% chance that a drown will actually spawn with a trident, given the right conditions. And then it's an 8.5% chance that that trident will drop if you kill him. And it increases by 1% for each level of looting that you have. So if you have a looting 3 sword, then you can expect an 11.5% chance of having that trident drop. figuring the spawn rates, it's difficult. And having a farm like this makes it so much easier. That is, if you don't have a bunch of other people taking up the mob cap. So on the AP Java server, we don't always have a ton of people on taking up the mob cap, and every now and then I get lucky and I'm on there by myself. And when that's the case, I'm the only one taking up the mob cap, so you'll see a lot of drowns popping out of there. But if it takes one person to get in the game, then the spawn rates for this drown farm, even though I am in ideal conditions, 128 blocks up, the area below is lit, it's still very, very slow, even with just one other person on. But they do come. It just takes a little while to get them. Don't ask me how much stone was built in this. It was so much stone. I have a beacon array set up below at my area where I was able to mine out a whole bunch of this stone. But I mentioned earlier that it is important that the light levels stay at 7 or below to get those spawns, because during the daytime there's a possibility that you won't get the spawns you're looking for if you just go with water streams from the top. So I made sure that inside there it is dark, as you can see. And there go those percentage chances I was talking about. We're just about finished up, and you can see the grass blocks that I've laid out. The level on the height on this is at 254. 255 is going to be max, so I built up to 255, and then put grass blocks one block below that. And you'll see later I'll put some slabs. Here we're putting some signs in. And it looks like Kitty has come in to join the game. So if I had my spawns going on right now, it'd be kind of slow. There's BC, he's in, and Ander, he's in there. I believe that's 4 of us. There might be 1 or 2 more people. But placing these signs up, you want to place those signs at least 2 blocks, I would say at least 3 blocks above, because when the drowns do spawn and drop down, and they will drop down, they need a little space to get through. Now we're adding the water, and again, the last drop-off area is 8 blocks, and everything before that is 7, so I can just put the water in the back, and it'll flow all the way, as you can see here. This is, I think, is the biggest one that I've built. I think I've built at least 8 or 9 of these so far, and I've built 2 with the waterways, as you see. Now we're going ahead and adding water to the top, and soon after that we'll go ahead and remove the grass blocks. And as I was removing these grass blocks later on, I started already getting spawns, and the drowns were coming up and saying hi. Wanted to eat, as Avaman's would say, they're trying to eat my face off. When I first shot these time lapse, I think I had like an hour and a half of it. I've really cut it down. I think I cut it down to like 6 minutes. Here we're removing the water, and pretty soon the spawns start to happen. But I kind of skipped through it. Now these guys are going to be spawning, and they'll be in the water, so you don't really have to worry about putting a roof over the kill area. Except for the actual kill zone. There's no water down there where the obsidian is at, so you definitely want to put some slabs on top of the glass so they don't burn up while you're waiting. And now we're putting the slabs. That slab is going to go on the Y level 255 as the max, and by putting that slab there, there is no chance for any other type of hostile mob spawns up there on top. We're removing some more of the grass. We're just about finished. Some more slabs. Rodder, I want to thank you a lot for those shulkers. I bought, I think, 10 or 12 shulkers. They came in handy here. They really did. And here, as you can see, I think now I might be the only one on the server. The drowns are really spawning in. and that's a sorting system I have down below. There's plenty of videos for that in case you're looking for one. Just do a YouTube search and you'll find one. An overall view shows you where from the earlier build that we started, we had those jagged edges. This will show you that I went ahead and straightened all those out. It's just a lot easier to do it that way to do the build. It really is. And you can see I have some overlapping water down below. I just didn't want to try and make jagged edges out of that, so I figured I'd just make it the easiest way I could. And of course my home is, or the village I'm at, is set up near a desert, so I have plenty of sand to make the glass. Now you'll notice there's one up there. He kind of got bumped out by another, and he jumped back in. But I have since, and you'll see that I mentioned it earlier, I've added additional glass blocks to keep that from happening. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to build a river biome trident farm on AP Java 1.15.2. Now, as you notice behind me, I unfortunately built mine 2 blocks high. I just wanted to see what it would be like. I do get tons, but I could have built it a couple blocks below, as I mentioned earlier. But still, it's a great way to get spawns. Again, it'll be a little slow if you're not on by yourself, but there's a much better chance of getting your tridents just like this. So if you really enjoyed the video, click the like button. If you would like to subscribe for future videos, I make new videos every Wednesday, have them edited and out by early Thursday morning. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and until next week, we will see you then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.